Happy Monday, everybody, and happy holiday week. There's a lot of holidays happening this week. So I hope you are all doing well, and I hope that if you're celebrating one of them, you have a good time. You probably know me, but if you don't, my name is Joshua R. Pangborn, and this is SideKick Power Hour. If you're in the audience, be sure to sound off so I know you're here. We are excited to have our special guest tonight, Christopher Wesley Moore. But before we bring them on, we're just going to do a couple quick updates for you all about the Sidekick universe and what's going on in the Crewniverse. Some of you know that I went to Providence last week. It was a wonderful time in Providence. Brandon and Mike and everybody who helped bring us up there to do a screening of A Taste of Youth. It was a lot of fun. Had a lot of people who really seemed to enjoy the movie, which is great. This was only the second audience that has seen the movie. The first was in New York, and then the second was in Providence. So if you want us to bring our movie to your city, reach out and let me know. I have two movies, in fact, that I can bring to your city. So if you want to see The Brooklyn Butcher or you want to see A Taste of Youth, let me know and I will come and bring them to your city and we will find a way to make that happen. Because I think it'd be a lot of fun. I want to do a little bit more traveling. I've seen that some people have been really successful at that and bringing their movies around. It's the old Kevin Smith method. He did that with Clerks, I believe, and a couple other of his films. I know he did it with Clerks 3. He did like a road show with them. And the Monster Makeup team with Sam Drogo and Death Drop Gorgeous, they've done that as well. It's been a pretty successful way for them to sort of get the movie out there and get to meet new audiences. And I think that that could be a lot of fun. And I would want to do that with all of you. So if you want to see A Taste of Youth or you want to see The Brooklyn Butcher, let me know. And it's even better if you can help me find a way to bring them to your city because that might be the harder part is finding out ways to actually connect with local people and getting them to the audiences and everything, or getting them in a theater and all, and getting an audience. I mean, both are difficult and challenging things. Also, I was really happy that I was able to sell a lot of books this time in Providence. I brought some books with me, and I sold out almost all of them. So that was pretty wonderful. That people were interested not just in the movie, but in what else we do at Psychic Productions. So, if you want a copy of the book, remember you can go to Amazon and you can get a copy of it there, or you can reach out to me directly, and I can tell you how you can get an autographed copy from me to you. So let me know. And then lastly, and probably most urgently, I suppose is the proper thing to say, we have 32 hours left in our fundraiser for The Contract. That's right. We are making our third feature film, The Contract, and we have 32 hours left in the campaign. So I I've said it before and I'll say it again, and I'll probably still say it after we're done with the campaign. But if you can help us, please go to thecontractfilm.com and help us make our next movie because folks, we really need as much help as we can get to bring queer independent cinema to life. I've talked about it in a more recent video, and I think it's going to be a challenging year for many people next year and possibly the next 4 years. But one of the areas we know that's going to be challenging is queer media. We've already seen it this last week. Disney pulled the plug on a queer episode of an upcoming Pixar series. And it's just going to happen more and more, I think, over the next couple of years. So the more that we can make independent queer cinema, the more we have to really, because no one else is going to be really making it and no one else is going to be encouraging it from the mainstream. So yes, all that being said, go to thecontractfilm.com. You have 32 hours left to help us. Anything helps. $5, $10. If you got an extra $5,000 laying around, then that would help a huge amount. So whatever you can do though, that would be really helpful because I think it is really it's really important that we are able to do as much as we can to bring queer independent cinema to reality. And hello to you too. Happy holiday, Black Bear. We're happy to have you in the audience. We're happy to have other folk in the audience as well. I'm really excited. It's been a nice it's a nice week. I'm really looking forward to spending the holidays with friends and doing what we can. And also spending the holidays with all of you. That's why I'm here today, is because I thought about not doing a show this week, but I was like, I really would like to see everyone for the holidays and this is one way to do that. I also want to say that if you're on Patreon, uh, stay tuned for Christmas Day because there's a very special announcement for you at the Crooniverse. And if you want to join the Patreon, it's go to thecrooniverse.com because you'll want to hear this really special announcement. It's about Demon Doctor. I'll give that away. It's a little clue. Demon Doctor. I know some of you have been asking about that for a while, and there'll be an announcement on Wednesday on Christmas Day. So that's important for me, I think, to have everyone come and see that. Um, but that's enough for me and the Crooniverse, and that's enough for me talking. Let's bring in another person who works really hard in queer independent media. Someone who has done some really fun movies that I can't wait to talk about. Uh, Everyone, please welcome Christopher Wesley Moore.
Oh, hello.
Hello, how are you today?
I'm pretty good. And congrats on the screening. That's awesome.
Thank you. It's so do you do that? Do you bring your movies around at all?
I wish I did. It's kind of like you said. I'm not really sure how to get them to the theaters, get an audience. I would love to do it, and I've seen a lot of people be really successful at that. I just don't really quite know how to do it yet. But if anyone has any tips, I would love to try it.
So, audience, we both need tips. So please help us out
Yes.
because we
Please,
need that.
please,
We
please.
bring us
We
to
need it
you. Please bring us to you.
desperately.
Because it's not easy, I think.
No.
I've tried a couple like cold call kind of things. I've reached out and said, "Hey, any chance you want to have a screening of this at your gay event?" And
Mhm.
either crickets or no, we don't do that at this event. We do
Uh,
sex. And it's like, okay, well,
yeah,
I tried.
I've heard some other people in the kind of queer horror world say, even with film festivals, like queer horror isn't always a big hit at the traditional, queer festivals. They're like, we don't do that. We do stories about people coming out and being disowned by their families, but that's it. Nothing else. How
Coming
dare
out
you?
stories or HIV stories. That's it.
Yes,
We don't
yes.
want any other
It's
queer
just
stuff. So
the classics that have been done 4,000 times, but if someone dies with a knife, it's like, "Oh, we can't show that here," which I find weird.
unacceptable. That's not what queer
Yeah.
cinema is. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and it's odd because, I mean, and I didn't know this as a kid, but I mean, horror has a huge queer fan base. So, like, don't you think they would show up? I don't know. It's
I would
weird.
think so, but I've had that issue with trying to get into festivals, especially queer festivals, because it's like
Yeah.
they just don't want the movies. And sort of my model on what I'm trying to do is Brandon and the Monster Makeup Crew because
Right.
they've been really successful with San Drogo, bringing it around to different cities and going on tour with it. It's been really uh, affirming to see them do that and say, okay, there is a way to do this, so let's try
Right.
it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're doing phenomenal work. I can't wait to see Saint Drogo. I've only seen Death Drop Gorgeous, so I'm really excited. And I think I heard maybe it's coming out in like March or something,
I
like a
think so. They're
Blu-ray or
working
something.
hard on getting it on Blu-ray, and
Oh, nice.
then the Blu-ray is first. I know because I just talked to Brendan last week because I was in Providence, so that's why I did.
Oh, yeah,
um,
of course.
and I know they're doing it on Blu-ray first. That's the first step for them.
Oh, fantastic.
San Drogo is. I was very lucky to see them in New York when they did a New York screening of it. It's so amazing and so different than their first movie too. It's
Yeah.
both are so much fun, but very different films. And
That's what I've heard. I've heard raves from everybody that I trust, so I'm really excited to see it.
well, I think that they should. You can trust the people you trust. So,
Okay, good, good.
but talk about your movie. Well, first introduce yourself, Chris.
Oh,
Tell us a little bit about yourself and everything.
well, I'm Christopher Wesley Moore. You can call me Chris if you want to. And I live in Jackson, Mississippi, and I've been making very low budget horror films for the past almost 10 years. I think it'll be 10 years in maybe a year or two, I think. I started with Blessed Are the Children in 2016. So that was my first one. And I've just been kind of churning them out every year and a half, 2 years, trying to get some stuff out there. And, the uphill climb of making indie films. It's
But you've got movies on Tubi,
yeah.
which is an accomplishment because it's getting harder to get on there. So
Oh, yeah, that's what I've been hearing recently. I've heard they're starting to get a little more choosy, and, so I don't know, like, with my next one, if it'll make it on there, like, you never know, because these things are so willy-nilly, you just you the market's weird. It's like sometimes it's really inviting to indie filmmakers, and then something happens, like, I think I remember that this was kinda before my time, Amazon used to be really great for indie film.
mhm.
And then all of a sudden, I guess maybe they changed management or something, and they pay like, 1 cent per, I don't know, million streams or something now. It's some ridiculous
Yeah.
number that's just sad. And so really it's Tubi and, Roku and stuff like that that's really kind of paying anything now.
Yeah. And it's just not easy to get on them anymore, which is weird when you think about it, because Tubi was always sort of like the place that everyone went to,
Right.
and I was like, oh, good. Well, if I can't get them on anywhere else, I can at least get my movies on Tubi. And then it's like,
Mhm.
oh, but now they're apparently hard. So
I mean, I would say still try. Still try
I'm
because you
going to
never know.
once I'm done with I have a couple more festivals I'm waiting to hear from. And that I think that ends in May. I'm holding out hope for Chattanooga, but I'm not,
Oh,
I would love to be in the Chattanooga Horror Fest,
yeah.
I don't know if that will happen, but we'll see.
Well, I'm gonna knock on wood, cross my fingers, cross my toes.
Well, thank you for that. I
Absolutely.
forgot that you were in Mississippi.
Mhm.
I it almost made me go, "Oh, do you know so and so?" Because there's literally only one person I know in Mississippi now. Now two with you. And but I also know Mississippi is a much larger state than what I in my head is like. Oh,
Mhm.
Mississippi is just like a small city.
Yeah.
But one of the actors who's done a couple of my movies and is a producer on the third one that we're doing. He's from Mississippi, and he's currently there for a moment while his wife is doing some training on a new in a new field. So he I know he's very passionate about trying to bring film to Mississippi and everything. So I should just connect you two, because I mean, who knows?
Sure.
Well, he's the kind of person that you would definitely want to know. I think so.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
even
I
if
would
he
love
is
that.
heterosexual, and I understand that.
Oh, no. We welcome everybody,
We do. We
even if we don't
welcome everyone's help and
agree with
support.
their lifestyle, we can
We try not to judge. So
right.
so you sent me a couple posters. I've seen both of these movies. But the first one I saw of your movies was the one that's behind you right now, When the Trash
Oh,
Man
yeah.
Knocks.
I love
That
that
was the
movie,
first
yeah.
one that I saw of your films. Why don't you tell everybody about this film a little bit before I talk about it too? So,
Oh, well, it's kind of a sort of a traditional slasher film, a kind of a holiday horror film. It takes place on Thanksgiving. It's about a mother and son who 20 years ago went through a very traumatic Thanksgiving when this escaped psychopath killed two people in their family, and they're not dealing with it very well. One of them is kind of constantly thinking about it, can't leave the house, is terrified of everything, terrified of living, really. And the other one is basically doing the opposite, which is just trying not to remember it and kind of being very distant and cold and not really letting anybody in. And he's sort of running away from everything. And then all of a sudden, they start to think maybe this guy has come back. And so they have to kind of face their fears together if they're both strong enough to do it. You're not so sure if they can make it or not. They're both a little emotionally raw and volatile. You're not really sure if they could make it or not. And that's kind of the main suspense of the film is will they persevere and fight their fears, face their fears.
and have Thanksgiving dinner, because that's always
Right.
important at Thanksgiving.
Yes, yes. Unfortunately, there's no cranberry sauce in this movie, but there's lots of blood, if that
Well, that
counts.
substitutes for
Uh,
cranberry sauce
right.
nicely, I've been told. So, fabulous there. No, it's a really fun movie. Yeah, like you said, it's a slasher, and so you wrote it
Mhm.
and you directed it,
Right.
and you are one of the stars.
Mhm.
So you
Yes,
and I
yes,
basically
indeed.
do the same thing.
I guess so, yeah.
Did you also edit the movie?
I did, yeah, yeah.
So we
I
really do
just,
the same things, then,
I
yes.
guess, yeah. I don't know if it's like a control freak thing or something, or just like it's less work in some ways because you don't have to tell someone what you want. You know, because
Yeah,
I honestly, I'm trying to get better at articulating exactly what I want. Like, I work with these great producers who also do the, cinematography on the films, and I'm always like, "Okay, how am I gonna articulate this to where they know exactly what I want?" And it's very difficult for me to be like, "Okay, we're gonna use a 35 millimeter lens, you're gonna be there, and then we're gonna put that light there, and she's gonna stand here," and then, like, it's hard for me to articulate it, so I'm trying to get better. So, it's a
I
work
am
in
in the same
progress.
boat as you. We're storyboarding the contract right now with the DP.
Oh!
And it's so exciting because he just wants to take what I have in the script and then put it in the storyboards. And I'm like, please, thank you. I do not have to explain
Oh.
anything until you get to a question mark. And I love that. Thank
Oh,
you
that's
so much.
terrific. I've been trying to play around with that. Because I can't draw to save my life.
No, 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 no,
So,
no.
I mean, because my first dream was to be a Disney animator when I was a kid, and, that dream was crushed pretty quickly when I found out, like, I cannot draw. It's
It's kind of like
awful.
my dream of being in musical theater when I found out that I couldn't quite sing the way you have to sing to be in
Oh,
musical
no.
theater. I'm like,
But then,
no.
there's always, like, people like Lauren Bacall, I
Yes,
wouldn't say she's a great singer, but she got on Broadway twice,
you're
2
right.
musicals, you know?
I'm
You
holding
never
out
know.
hope, and there's a lot of ways you can do with graphic design or the
Mhm.
computer design animation. It's a bit different now, so you
Right.
can well not AI. Don't we won't go down the AI route, but
Ugh,
yeah,
no.
no, no,
I
thank
can't
you,
stand that stuff.
not at
It's
all.
ridiculous.
But
But yeah, I think that would be a good idea. We've talked about with this new one, maybe trying some storyboarding stuff, so I'm gonna try to weasel into that too, and it
I would
might help.
encourage you to do it because I've already seen a difference in my production process by having the storyboard.
Oh, nice.
And I've never storyboarded before. This is the first time
Mhm.
we're doing it, and, it's partially because 'cause I'm working with a new DP for the first time, and partially because,
Oh.
we're doing a feature film in 9 days, so it's like, let's make sure we get it
Oh.
all done.
Oh,
Uh,
w hats
but
off to you.
it's so amazing. Already, I'm already, like, seeing the movie happen in the storyboard. It's like, this is fabulous. So
Oh.
I am highly this revolutionary thing called storyboarding that no one's ever heard of in the industry before. I'm behind it. Do it.
Oh, that's terrific. I've got to now. I have to, because I'm sure it saves a lot of time, and with that many days to make a full movie, that's gonna
Yeah.
save so much time.
What was it like filming When the Trash Man Knocks then? How long was that process, would you say?
Oh gosh, I
The
think
filming, I guess,
um
principal photography, we'd say.
we started in, I think it was mid-March, it was like March 13th, and we shot for, I think, 2 weeks, kind of on and off.
Mhm.
And then we had to take a break because Joanne, who plays my character's mother, Caroline, she had some conflict, so we couldn't shoot with her until, like, early April. So we kinda
Okay.
I think we shot all of her stuff within, like, a 1 consecutive week. We just got it out. It was, like, Monday through Saturday or something. And so
Mm.
we got her all wrapped. So all of her stuff was shot within about a week. Um, and then we had a few weird days because all of the stuff that took place at the restaurant, we only had Sundays. So we
Mm.
had to just sort of go through and be like, okay, we need, let me see, like one, two, three, four, five, that's 6 Sundays to get all this stuff done. So that was weird. That was really strange. But I guess all in all, it was maybe like 2 months altogether, and then I think we took a little break before we shot the opening sequence, because for some
Mhm.
reason, we went into production without actually knowing how it was going to open. So that was fun. That was kind of a thing I wouldn't wanna do again. Like, I think we knew it was gonna open with a mockumentary about the crimes, so that
Mhm.
stuff was done, but there was an opening that was in the script that was, it was just this sort of random character who had nothing to do with anyone else in the movie, who just, like, heard the knock on the door and, like, got killed, and it was just sort of like, "Why? Who cares?" So we had to go back in and, give it a bit more pizzazz, and, so, yeah, I wouldn't do that again. But, yeah, so I think all in all, maybe 3 months kind of on and off, because it was, I think we shot the opening in May, like, maybe mid late May, I think, and then it was
And you
wrapped.
filmed it in what year?
2000, let me see, 2024 now, 2023, I think?
Oh,
Yeah, because
really?
it came out November of 2023, so We wrapped in May, it was out by November.
I didn't realize it was that recent.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Okay. That's
Yeah,
then
super recent.
even and May to November. Wow, kudos on that turnaround because
It was I don't know what I was thinking. I was like, "We're gonna get this one out by Thanksgiving," and
that makes
somehow we
sense. It's a
did,
Thanksgiving
you
movie,
know?
so
Yeah, I mean, because I think sometimes, you can sort of with indie films, I think a lot of people have plans of like, "I don't really have a release date, I'm gonna play in some festivals." I've had experience in festivals, they weren't always positive, so I've sort of bypassed them, but I think maybe with my next one, I'll try them again, but I just, the last time I tried to do festivals was A Stranger Among the Living, and then COVID hit, and
mhm.
it was like it just didn't make sense to keep doing them because no one was gonna go, and
Yeah.
it was kind of a bummer.
We have another audience member who is encouraging storyboarding,
Oh.
so
Oh, okay. Perfect. Look at that.
Um, there is there is a my DP showed me an open source free software for storyboarding that I'll send you later.
Oh,
Because
please
you can you,
do.
you can also record it as a video, so you can play out the storyboarding like an animation. Um,
Really?
so and then you if you really want to get technical, apparently he says you can add the recorded dialogue to it as well, so you can sort of watch it as that.
Oh,
Uh,
that's really cool.
so I'll send you a link once when I get it from him, so that way you can
That would be
play with it.
awesome. Because
Um,
I've been thinking maybe of, like, trying to come up with, like, a soundtrack for the film, like, because I mean,
that'd be a great way to do that too.
yeah, it's like I usually score the rough cut with, temp
Mhm.
music from other movies and stuff, and I thought if I cobble that track together now, then when I'm on the set, I can be like, "Let me play this track in this action scene," and we can
Oh
time it, you
yeah,
know? I think that might be fun. I've never tried that before, so that might be interesting. It's just kinda something I'm
that would be really
playing with.
interesting.
It might work, it might not, but,
Do
I don't
you
know.
score everything then too? You're
No.
the
Oh, Lord, no. I tried it one time, with Blessed Are the Children, I did a few cues. I was working with a composer, and some of the music didn't turn out exactly as I had hoped, and instead of having time for them to rescore it, we were kind of on a time crunch, so I had to go in and try to compose music myself, and I'm not a composer, so that was an experience, but it wasn't that bad, I don't think, but it was definitely an experience, but, I wouldn't do that ever again now that I have got Luke Zwolski, who does, he's done I think he did everything after Blessed Are the
oh
Children, and
nice, okay.
he gets my style, he gets the kind of music that I love, like a very sort of John Carpenter, Alan Haworth kind of sound,
Mhm.
which I just love. I just think it's so moody and creepy and kinda put you on edge, and, so he understands that completely, so it's like we have this sort of, um, secondary language now, and it's great. I love his
That's
work.
great. I love working with the same people too, as much as possible
Yes.
because you start to develop that language exactly as you said. You start
Yeah.
to that shorthand, or you can be like you can reference them. Oh, remember what you did on XYZ? Let's bring that
Yes.
in, but shift it this way, and it's
Right.
so much easier. It's so good.
Oh, it's so wonderful because you don't have to, you don't have to stop and think, okay, what do I have to do to get this out of them in this one scene? You know what you have to do. You know, okay, well, this actor here needs some time alone to
Mhm.
prepare for a really dramatic scene. This actor can just go right in, and you can kind of schedule things based on that. Like you're like, well, this actor right here gets it right on the first take. This actor needs take three, and you can kind of sort of maneuver that to where you're like, we need the camera on them at this particular time because I know this is when they're going to really deliver, and that saves so much time.
100%.
It's
When you
great.
know the actors that you're working with, especially when you're in the writing phase, that can make
Mm,
it that can make it even easier because you're like, I know exactly what this character will sound like because I know who's playing them.
yes,
So
I love it. Highly recommend it. It's
I
fantastic.
have the whole Christopher Guest style approach to
Yeah,
filmmaking. So
same, same.
it's so much fun. It's great. It's having a nice collective of folk. But I think I mean between you and me and Monster Makeup, and then Troy and Roger too, who I've had on earlier
Yeah.
in the show, we all seem to use a lot of the same people over and over again because
Mhm.
I think when you're doing independent cinema, that sort of you find a family, a film family, if you will. So,
Right. Absolutely. I
and the
totally
other
agree.
movie that you mentioned to me, I want to make sure we get that in and talk about that because this, I think, is this is your biggest movie, isn't it? Children of Sin, is that right?
I would say so. This is the first movie that I think I made that anyone gave 2 shits about. So it's like it's one of those movies that it's like I can kind of think of my I hate to even use the word, but my career, like sort of pre-Children of Sin and
Mhm.
Children of Sin. For whatever reason, this movie is I think probably my most popular film. Certainly probably my best reviewed film, and people really seem to like it. And it's my personal favorite, so, I know I shouldn't say that because you shouldn't have a personal favorite of your own work. You
Possible. You
should
can't
love
love
them
one film over
all.
another. How
Right,
dare
but
you?
I mean, I'm just gonna say it. I think it's my personal best at the moment. I don't think it will always be my best. I think hopefully I'll get better and better and better, but at the moment, it's my favorite, and I love it. And I think it's the only one of my movies that I could probably watch again tomorrow and enjoy because I'm not gonna be focusing on like, "Oh, I should have done that. I should have done this." It's got some technical flaws, but I think it's got the best script. It's got the best story, and I think everybody in it is just, they're so good.
Well,
They're
what
so
is it
good.
about? Tell us a little bit about what the movie is about.
Oh, it is the story of 2 kids, a brother and a sister, who are sent to a camp in the woods that is run by the wicked Mary Esther, who wants to make sure that all these sinning children are going to be set right with the Lord. And she has some very interesting ways of doing that, including murder if they don't completely go with her plans.
I
And
mean,
so they have to
if
escape.
you're not gonna do what the Lord says, then I mean,
I mean,
yeah.
he's a very unmerciful Lord when you're talking to Mary Esther. She doesn't really forgive and forget very well.
It's a very good film. I mean, I enjoyed both of them. I like. I think they're very different films in many
Oh
ways.
yeah, yeah,
And which
absolutely.
I think is really awesome that you are trying to do things that are you're not trying to repeat the same thing over and over again. You're doing
Oh
different
no.
things,
Ugh.
all within the same genre, but you're showing the breadth of the genre and how much you can do with it. So I think that's pretty wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it just gets boring if you're gonna do the same thing. Like I've never been tempted to make a sequel to one of my movies. I'm like,
Mhm.
what's the point? I did it. There was one time when I thought maybe I was gonna do Blessed Are the Children Part 2, and then that kinda turned into Children of Sin, sort of,
Oh,
weirdly enough.
interesting.
So I was like, let's just do something completely new. And yeah, I don't really like to repeat myself that much. I think there's some similar themes in my work that kind of keep coming back. But I think that's true of
Well, that's
everyone, you
true. I
know?
think for everybody, yeah. And
Absolutely.
also as a performer, you had two very different roles in these two movies,
Right. Two very depressed homosexuals.
but
But
differently depressed, very differently depressed.
right, right. I think with Hank in Children of Sin, he was more, he was a bit more active in the sense that
Mhm,
he kinda had a goal. Justin's kind of like a sad sack, and it wasn't really I got very depressed while making that film because he was so depressing. Because he was a character
mhm,
that was so internal. There's not a lot of external stuff that he's showing, and so you have to have all this stuff going on in your head
mhm.
that you can't really show on screen, which is it's hard to play, and I don't really know if I was completely successful, to be honest. It's a really and I think part of that's the writing, which I can also take credit for or take the blame for. He's just a very odd character to play. But Hank, Hank, you kind of root for Hank because he's trying to find his joy and I don't wanna spoil it, but it doesn't really end great for him, so
It's a
poor
horror
guy.
movie. Most people know, spoiler wise, that horror movies don't usually end with bright, happy
No,
endings. So
most people aren't gonna be happy by the end, but, he
surprise
really
everyone! It's a horror movie.
right. He gave it a good go though, so
I
whether
really,
the,
really liked Hank a lot. I
yeah,
was cheering for him. It's a good movie. It's an enjoyable film. I can see why you would say it's one of your favorites for your own movie or your favorite that you made because it's a
absolutely.
really enjoyable film to watch.
Yeah, I think it's probably my most fun film of all the ones that I've made, and which is weird because I think it's touching on some really dark stuff, but I don't I don't think it ever feels kind of mean-spirited or too, like, angry. I think it still has a nice kind of sense of fun to it. Whereas I think Trash Man is a little serious, and I think that's also why I was kinda depressed as I made it, because it was just like, "These people are so sad." I just kept I felt so bad for all these people who were so trapped in the past, and I think for my next film, it's a lot more fun. It's much more Children of Sin than it is Trash Man, so kinda
And
try to
yes,
get back to some
you're in
fun.
pre-production now for your next movie, right?
Yes,
What is
yes,
that?
I've
What is
just
the movie?
it's called Until You're Alone. That is at the moment, I guess it's a working title, but we might just k keep it. And it's a giallo. It is a full-blown giallo. It's not
Nice.
one, like a lot of people say, "Oh, it's a giallo," and it's just like, "Oh, you've got like a red light on someone's face," and it has like nothing to do with the actual genre of the giallo. This is a real one. I mean, this is murder mystery, social commentary, all that fun stuff that all those, Mario Bava, Dario Argento films had. But it takes place in the South, so there's sort of, a little more repression. It's also kind of an erotic thriller. There's a lot of eroticism and sexy stuff, and people are repressed and trying to get stuff out, and it's really fun. I can't wait to do this. I feel like I've been working towards this one since I was in probably like ninth grade and I first really discovered this type of movie. I've always wanted to make one, and I've come close. I think there's some sort of stylistic aspects of the genre that I've used before, but this is narratively probably the first one that I can really claim as a real
Mhm.
giallo, and it's oh gosh, it's so much fun. I can't wait. So
So
excited.
basically, you and I are both making erotic thrillers next year.
Oh, it's the year of the erotic thriller.
Because my movie is also an erotic thriller. It's extremely erotic, with lots
Oh,
and
I
lots
can't
of
wait.
male nudity and almost male nudity. Uh,
There we
so,
go.
um,
Perfect. We're
so
bringing it back, damn
I
it.
guess we have to do double features then. We'll have to find a way to make that happen
Now
because
that would we could go on the road. We could do that
good.
thing we were talking about. Just take them on the road, double feature, our own little grindhouse, you know?
Our own little erotic, gay, queer erotic thriller grindhouse.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, I think there's an audience for that, right?
I
There's
think
gotta
so.
be.
You're doing a giallo. Mine's more of a gothic horror, so it's going to be a nice
Ooh,
combination there. I
that would
think.
be a good combo. I'm all
Well,
for it.
we should pursue this. I think it's a good idea.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. This would be a
when are
blast.
you filming, by the way? When do you open? Open. When
Well,
do you open? When do you start production?
well, someone's gonna be opening in the movie, if you know what I mean. Um, it's, at the moment, I'm not sure yet. I was trying to go for February, and I feel like we're not gonna make that because there's just so much
I'm
to
filming
do.
in February, so
Oh, okay, perfect. So we're not gonna film in February now.
it's
Um,
hilarious. No, it's like
I
we're like
think
twins here.
I don't know. I might try to if we can squeeze it into maybe March or April. I think that's when we shot Trash Man, and that seemed to be a good time. I want to try to stay away from the summer because it's Mississippi. It just gets hot. And it's an erotic thriller, but I'm not trying to make body heat here where everyone's just like sweaty and sticky.
Also, it's if anybody
So
doesn't know, it's really hard to do special practical effects in the heat because
oh my god.
prosthetics do not like to stay on when
No,
they're
they'll
sweating.
just
So
they'll just like slowly slide off, and it's really embarrassing. It's horrible. And I shot Blessed Are the Children and Children of Sin in the summer, and as much fun as especially Children of Sin was to film, there were certain days where I was like, I want to strangle myself. I mean, it was so hot.
it is
Horrible.
because you have to turn the air conditioning off. You can't have any
No,
on,
the noise is not good.
and
It's
so
horrible.
everyone's just miserable.
Yeah, it's not fun. So unless you're making a film where every character is supposed to be at each other's throats the whole time, it's not a good idea.
So
Ugh,
that's one of the reasons I'm doing February because it's like I was like, you know what? I always end up doing something in the summer. Let's try to start as far away from the summer as possible, so
yes.
that way I don't fall into that trap again because it always seems to happen. And
It's awful. Isn't it just terrible? I the older I get, the more I'm like, I don't actually like the summer. I
oh,
think
I
I
hate
only
the
liked
summer
it. Yeah,
completely.
when I was a kid, it was great because we were out of school. That's why we
Mhm.
liked it. That was the only reason why. There's no other redeeming value to the summer,
Nope.
especially not here. It's
Nope.
awful.
I can't even it must be so hot and humid in Mississippi in the
Ugh.
summer.
Oh, it's terrible. Like mid August, like you will die if you step outside. You will just combust into flames and die.
'Cause New
It's
York is pretty
horrible.
bad. New York City gets pretty awful, but,
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. Yeah, yeah, I don't even I was in Atlanta in June in, like, 2012, and that was pretty
Ooh.
bad.
Yeah,
And
Atlanta gets really bad.
that was June, so I can't even imagine August because
Oh, it
that's
gets so much worse. It gets bad. I was in New York, I think it was in June or July, and it was warm, but the worst part was in the subway.
Mhm.
That literally felt like I was in hell. I was like, "There is no air anywhere. This is
No
I'm gonna
air,
suffocate."
and
So
it
bad.
smells you've never
Oh,
smelled things like you've smelled in New
oh,
York City in the summer.
yeah, what is that smell? What is that?
That is New
Terrible.
York melting.
Oh, that's awful.
Do
It's
you do
terrible.
you film all of your movies in Mississippi then, or have you
Yeah,
traveled
I
other
have
places?
I did, like, a web series when I was still kind of in college, that was called The, American Dream. No one has seen it. It was kind of a comedy, sort of mockumentary kinda thing, sort of Christopher Guest-ish, you know? And, we shot that in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and we shot
Oh,
some
okay.
stuff in Mississippi. But, I think that's the only thing I've shot, and oh, I think we shot a few scenes in New York, actually, because there was a
Oh,
character that I played who was like a sort of a washed up cabaret star, and, there was a whole scene in Times Square where he was trying to get people to, sort of recognize him and stuff,
mm.
and then there was a scene where I was singing "Everything's Coming Up Roses" on the subway, which we did with no permits, we just kinda just did it, and that was the
That's how New
weirdest thing
York
I've
works,
ever done in
yeah.
my life, and no one cared. That's how
They
weird New
don't
York is. They're like, "This is nothing. This is
that's hardly the weirdest thing I've seen on the subway ever. I mean,
absolutely."
that's that's a Tuesday. That's just a
Right.
regular day of the week.
It was nothing. If you did that here, like, in the middle of the street, they would call the cops. They'd be like, "What is going on here?" In New York, they're like, "Please, this is this is nothing."
But I remember talking to, who was I talking to about this? I is it really nice to film in Mississippi because people are a little bit more open to the concept of not overcharging you $1,000,000 for your, locations and
Yeah.
all?
Absolutely. I think people here are still kind of charmed by the idea of someone making a movie in their house or in their neighborhood. Whereas if you're in New York or LA, they're like, "Oh yeah, you can film here. That'll be $4 million for 2 hours." And you're like, "What the hell?" Or like, "You need a permit to shoot in your own apartment." Like, screw that.
Mhm,
Like, I'm not gonna do that. Like, and
mhm.
do people actually pay for permits to shoot inside their own homes? Because I wouldn't do it. That's
No
stupid.
one that I know of does that,
Yeah, that's goofy.
because, yeah, New York has an interesting you have a lot of freedom if you don't use a tripod. So as
Yeah.
long as you're handheld, you get a lot more freedom involved in terms of making a film in public spaces, especially. Obviously, you can't do like effects and action
Oh.
scenes, but like if you wanted to go into like a museum and you could, in theory, you could get away with filming a scene of like an actor looking at the paintings in a museum or having a conversation. You could probably get away with that in the museum,
Mhm.
especially if you're filming on like an iPhone or something. It would be
Oh, yeah.
very, very so there's ways to get around with production value in the city. We filmed a scene in Art of Blowing It in Times Square. We went there at 4 a.m. When nobody was there.
Oh,
Literally,
wow.
it was the only time I've ever seen nobody in Times Square. It was at 4 a.m. but
Oh,
but we filmed
cool.
there and we got a scene in and the cops were there. They looked at us, but they didn't do anything because we were not like doing anything wrong. We were just talking in Times Square and
Yeah.
with a camera. And so I mean, they knew what we were doing, but they weren't like, "Oh, stop it." So
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I mean, I've noticed, most people don't care unless you're, like, disturbing the peace or you're
yeah,
on private property. I mean, 'cause there was one scene I remember shooting in A Stranger Among the Living where we were at a gas station and the lead was drenched in blood, like just fake blood everywhere.
Mhm.
Had a knife. He was like waving it around, and I had called the guy that owned the place beforehand and asked for permission and all that fun stuff, and he said sure. And then all of a sudden we were shooting that scene and this cop just came by and we were like, oh God, this is not going to end well. And he just was like, what y'all doing? I'm like, we're just making a movie. And we pointed to the camera and all that stuff. And he was like, oh, cool. Okay, well, just let you guys do it. And just went away. I was like, ah, yay, this is great.
Oh, that's
If that was
nice.
LA, no, no
No, I
way.
if
Yeah.
well, I wonder in New York if you could just walk down the street covered in blood. And
Well, New York probably. I think people would just be like, "Oh," because I mean, if they saw someone with a camera following them, they'd
yeah,
probably go, "Oh, this must be for some movie or web show or something,"
yeah.
some TikTok or something, like I don't think they'd be too concerned.
I think if it was waving the knife around, that might be the problem, unless they saw the
That would
camera
be
visibly.
frightening.
But
Yeah,
just
that might
drenched
be
in
an
blood, I
issue.
think you'd be okay.
Absolutely. I think that would be fine. But yeah, the knife would be I think that someone might get tackled or something.
Possibly. I can see that being an issue for sure. But
Yeah.
that's so cool that you could just do that. So how many movies have you made?
The ones that I claim, I guess what number am I at now? I guess 5? About to be
Nice.
6. Yeah,
Wow,
so
you are
5
prolific
movies.
in terms of feature films.
I just keep churning them out. I have a good time, and it's a good way to do some creative expression, and it's fun. And I mean, I'm always trying to figure out, okay, what can I do now with what I have to work with? So
Mhm.
it's like, well, I could use this location and that location. These actors are currently available. And so I kind of sometimes write stories based on what I have to work with so that I'm not, writing like some big epic and then being like, well, we have $14 to make this. So let me start cutting that scene and move this from a space ship to an apartment, and so it's good to know what you have to work with before you start.
Totally. How long is your writing process usually for a movie when you know you're making a movie?
Oh, um, well, this last one just took about a year actually.
Oh wow, okay.
But it's been kind of on and off and it hasn't been as consistent. I think my shortest one, there have been a few that only took maybe 3 months or so.
Mhm.
But then I look back on them and I'm like, maybe you should have done a few other drafts. So I wouldn't recommend that. I'd always say, you really can't have too many drafts of a script. It just keep fine tuning it, adding more nuances. I look back at some of my stuff and I say, this would have been so good if I had just, had maybe 3 more drafts. I was so close.
I know what you're talking about, so I've been there, done that.
Oh,
But
yeah.
sometimes I'm also just like I need to stop because if I don't make it, then I'm just gonna keep rewriting it, and that's just
Well, yeah, that's the thing is that there has to be a certain point where you just say, "Okay, this is as good as it's going to get for now, and if I keep going, I'm never gonna make this thing." So you
Mhm.
gotta just go ahead and say, "It's good enough, I guess," and just go for it and hope it works.
So
Uh,
with the next movie you have coming out, do you have a release date in mind? Since you don't seem, oh, but you said you might do festivals for the next one.
I might. I don't know how it's gonna go, but I'm feeling like I might sort of dip my toe back in there. Uh, it but this is more of a this isn't really a slasher movie. It's kind of like this. God, it always sounds so pretentious when someone says, "It's not a horror film, it's a thriller." I hate when people say that, but this is much more like Argento, De Palma
Mhm.
style, where it's more about the mystery and the characters and stuff. It's not I mean, there's gonna be blood. There's gonna be a little sleaze, of course, you gotta have some, but it's not, like a guy in a mask with a knife.
Mhm.
So, it's kind of a different style from Trash Man. Um, so I don't know how it's gonna be perceived though, because I don't really think people have made a film like this in a while. I mean, the erotic thriller, I mean, you should know. I mean, you're about to make one too. It seems like it's been dead for a while.
It
It's
has
not
been.
something that
No,
people go after.
it's got me a little nervous about it because I'm like, well, what are people gonna expect when they see like
Right.
there's just naked men walking around on
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like I don't know exactly what seemed to kill it because it was so big, like in the '80s and the '90s, and then it was just like bloop, just went away almost completely.
it
But
would. Yeah, I'm trying
it's
to think of the
odd.
last one that I saw that would probably be like at least a big
Yeah,
one.
there was one I think it was Unfaithful was one people were talking about that was like the last real big like mainstream erotic
Probably.
thriller drama, and that was like 2002 or 3 or something.
Yeah. Well, we've got the Bitter Wolf excited for Gay Giallo for the win.
The Bitter Wolf. I love the Bitter Wolf. Hey.
So do
Oh.
I.
Oh.
The Bitter Wolf, if anyone hasn't seen, just put out a wonderful holiday music video from all of
Yes.
us to all of you.
We both get to sing in it.
Yes, we do. Um, doing. I get 5 days of Christmas. It was a lot of fun.
It was. It really was.
I just didn't realize until watching it like 7 times in a row, my me come up, I'm like, "Wow, I look unhinged in this." So
I mean, I don't know if I look much better. It was a long day for me and he was like, "Do you want to do this?" And I was like, "Sure." And so I'm like, I probably look like a nutcase just sort of, singing this
but that
crazy
that works for
song.
horror and all, I think that,
It
so
does. It absolutely does. Oh,
thank
we
you,
we
Bitter
we love
Wolf.
you too. Oh,
Um,
makes me happy.
so we only have about 7 minutes left. Wow, this hour flew
Oh,
right
wow.
by. Um,
Dang.
I always like to find out when I'm talking to filmmakers what some of their favorite films are. So I guess,
Oh.
what are some of your favorite horror films?
Brian De Palma's Carrie is number 1, always has
Number
been since I
1 is
first
Carrie.
saw
Oh,
it.
very
Number
impressive.
1, that one just it hit me at just the right time, I think. I was going through I saw it in 2nd grade, I think. I was going through kind of a bullying thing, and I was like, "Yeah, Carrie, get him!" I just kind of resonated,
I
and,
am really excited and intrigued by Mike Flanagan doing Carrie for
I'm
Amazon.
interested. I wonder what it's gonna be like, because I mean, they've adapted this, what, like 3 times now?
Three
I'm like,
movies, right?
what
It's
is left unturned here, you know?
yeah.
It's gonna
I'll
be
be really curious.
fascinating.
I mean, I usually I love Flanagan, so we'll
Me
see
too.
what he does with it. So
If listen, if he can't bring something to it, no one can. It's like him and, The Exorcist that he's going to do.
I'm
Curious to see
excited
what
for
he's gonna
that.
do with
I'm
that.
I'm excited for his DC movie, even if he's not
Yeah,
directing it. He wrote a Clayface movie,
he's
so
he's if he can't pull this off, they should just never attempt it again because he knows what he's doing.
yeah.
He's terrific.
So
I'm thinking
Carrie's
other
number one.
favorite
Okay.
movies. I mean, Halloween, obviously, just like that's a boring answer because who doesn't love that? Black Christmas, it's that time of year, so I love Black Christmas. The original, of course.
I
No
did
other
just
ones
watch all three of
exist.
them actually.
Oh, you're a brave man. Brave. Brave.
Sometimes in the mood for something that moves a little faster than the
Oh yeah.
1974 does, and that's sort of the 2006 one, I think. And
Yeah,
then
it moves super fast.
the new one, the 2019 one, I hadn't watched. I've only watched that once, and so I wanted to see it again just to see what I thought about it once I had some time pass, and it really
Mhm.
doesn't change anything.
Yeah. It's
It's not my
I
favorite.
think it has some good ideas, I think. It's just very really strange to me that both of the remakes kind of didn't understand what made the first one so good. It's like it has
Yeah,
such a good like, the characters are so well drawn, and it's got this great mood, and you don't learn anything about the killer. He's such a mystery, and it's got such great comedy too, which kind of balances out the fact that it's a very bleak movie, but it's got all these really great comic moments, which I just love. Um,
Bitter Wolf
couple
likes both. So
Oh! Oh, yay! What else? Oh, Nightmare on Elm Street, the original, I love it. I love Nancy Thompson, probably my favorite of the sort of final girls. I just think she's amazing. Um, Carnival of Souls, I love,
hmm.
and, Let's Scare Jessica to Death, and Messiah of Evil, and, Dead and Buried, those kinds of, like, moody kinds of movies, the Stepford Wives, I love. Um, Rosemary's Baby, Deep Red, Suspiria, pretty much anything Argento did, like, pre 90s. I love. Um, Blood and Black Lace, Black Sabbath, Burnt Offerings. Oh my gosh, there's so many. There's
What
so many.
about
I love
this
them
year?
so
Did
much.
anything come out this year that really
Oh,
added
this
to your
year.
list?
Well, I love The Substance.
It's
That
hard not to. I mean, it's a
that
brilliant movie.
just
So
I mean, that movie ended and I could not sit up from the theater seat. I had to sit there for 5 minutes just like, "Whoa,
it
what
was
was
so
that?"
good.
I couldn't believe what I
It's
was seeing.
I'm like, what am I watching? This is amazing. So
And it's like, mainstream actors, big budget, and it's basically like this glorified B movie that maybe you would have seen, like, in the late '80s with, like, a Brian Yuzna kind of movie,
mm,
and it's just balls to the walls insanity the entire time, beautifully shot, beautifully acted. It was just such a like, a sensory overload, and oh my god, that floored me, that
loved
movie.
it so much.
Oh gosh, just Demi for the Oscars.
I
She's
I
coming
hope
for it.
so.
She's coming for the Oscar. I hope. Please. Please.
I hope so too.
I'm trying to think of anything else. What if I've seen so much this year and and then I just goes out of my head. Oh, I liked Oddity. I like that. That was
I
very
haven't seen that one yet.
impressive.
I
It's
need to see
it's
that one still.
it's very slow. It's very slow, kind of old-fashioned ghost story vibes, but there's some scares in that movie. Like I levitated out of my bed as I was watching. I made a mistake. I was watching it very late at night. There was no one else in the house, and I was. It was a mistake to do that. It kind of got me. Which movies don't usually get me like that now. So when they do, it's really special. So I put that one at the top. There's still so much I need to see. I need to smile too. There's so much. It's like when I'm in sort of writing mode, I tend to not watch a lot, and then I have to catch up on it later. So it's probably what I'm doing next week. I tend to do it all at the end of the year. Like
Well,
I
that works
make
out.
a list and watch them all.
That gives you time to sort of enjoy it in a nice, relaxed setting after you've
Mhm.
written and reward yourself with a bunch of films. Then
Right. Yeah, it's like a special treat now.
exactly. Well, Chris, I'm really excited that you could be here tonight talking to me about your movies. I know that When the Trash Man Knocks and Children of Sin are both on Tubi.
Mhm.
Uh, any of your other movies that we can see on there or anywhere else?
Yeah, I think A Stranger Among the Living is on Tubi. The other two I don't think are in anymore. They were distributed by someone else. So it's kind of that's their call. So I don't really know where they're streaming now. I think maybe they're on Plex or something. I think someone told me they were on Plex or Roku or something. I don't know. But
And do you have any? Do you do physical media with any of your movies?
I
Or
do. When the Trash Man Knocks, there's actually a link on my Instagram page to buy that. I put that out myself. And Children of Sin was released by Makeflix about a year ago, I think. And so that's on their website. And Stranger Among the Living was on Amazon. I think it might be out of print now though, because I
Hmm.
saw it's like $36 or something. I was like, oh my God, no, I wouldn't buy it for $36. That's ridiculous. So I don't. So I might
So
put that one out myself again.
so you did When the Trash Man Knocks yourself. What did you? How did you do that yourself? What did you use?
Oh, that was on Kunaki. This website where you kind
Mhm.
of you upload your artwork, you upload the is it the ISO file or something on the disk, and then they just manufacture themselves, and they do the shipping, which is great. So you don't have to
Do they
ship it.
do the menus and everything too?
No,
Or
you've got to do that. Which honestly I'm not very good at. So so Trash Man just has the movie. It's just it you
mm.
put it in and it just starts the movie. There's no special features, which is kind of a bummer. So I'm trying to get better about all that stuff. So if anyone has any tips about how to do that, I'm all ears. And
Same, everybody, because I would like to learn this as well. So share with us.
yes, please share with us, please. Um, and yeah, I think I might put some of my older movies on Kunaki too because I think the contracts have expired now. So I think I could
Oh,
probably do
well,
that.
that's exciting then.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Well, then in the new year, everybody look forward to some physical media from Christopher Wesley Moore,
Yeah.
and get them because. But in the meantime, you can watch some of them on Tubi,
Mhm.
and that would be fun. Um, Thank you again so much. I hope that you have very happy holidays. We should definitely keep in touch talking about our production process because we're going to be
Yes.
making movies at the same time.
I know, it's
So,
exciting. New year,
I,
new movies.
new year, new movies, erotic thrillers for the win. So.
Yes, we're bringing it back, everybody.
We
We're
will bring
doing
it
it.
back and we will succeed. And just selfishly speaking for me, since it is the end of the hour, there are 31 hours left, everybody, for the contract. So please go to thecontractfilm.com and help us make our erotic thriller. It's a gothic horror film, and we want to bring it to you. So if you want to see it, so Christopher Wesley Moore and I can go on tour together with our double feature, then help us out. Uh, but anyway, have a very happy holiday season. The holidays are upon us, Chris, and
Yes, they are.
I will talk to you very soon. And everybody else, have a wonderful, wonderful week. Thank you
Thank you
all,
so much.
and goodbye for now. See you on Monday,
Goodbye.
all again.
And that's the tea.